Today's episode is brought to you by the Positively Productive Toolkit, a collection of workbooks that guide you through self-discovery and self-awareness. These self-guided workbooks, which include links to assessments, can be completed in minutes. Request this free resource and others at the positivelyproductive.com/resources page. How you begin the year sets the tone for what follows. The pace you set now, the pressure you accept now, and the expectations you place on yourself right now need to carry forward. I suspect this is one of the reasons so many big resolutions fall apart so quickly. They weren't sustainable. Setting the right pace for change and growth has a huge impact on success. You're listening to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I'm really glad you're here with me as the new year begins, especially if the start of this year already feels stressful to you. If even days in it already feels a little loud, a little rushed, or heavier than you expected, you're in the right place. There's a lot of messaging out there about starting strong, setting big goals, and hitting the ground running. You've got resolutions and 365 days ahead to fill with achievement and change. It's a fresh start, a new year, a new you. It's exhausting. And while it might work for some people, it really can. I will give them that. For many of us, it actually creates stress before the year even has a chance to get started. Maybe you don't want a new you. Maybe you just want a nap and then to keep moving forward. Maybe you're still feeling grief from family loss that happens around this time of year. Or maybe you're still in celebration mode with your family and your new year doesn't really begin until mid-January. Why does the calendar get to dictate a fresh start anyhow? Can't you start over just as easily on a random Tuesday in April? Of course you can. Fresh starts are a beautiful thing, and they can happen anytime. And there's nothing inherently wrong with the arbitrary date of January 1st, as long as it's not to your detriment. So today, for those who do feel the stress of the new year, new you approach, I want to offer an alternative. This episode is about starting the new year with less stress, not simply by doing less for the sake of it, but by intentionally choosing what you're doing and when you're doing it. It's about timing as much as selecting what you're going to do. Instead of resolutions or pushing harder to meet a specific deadline that may or may not work for you, this is about starting the year in a way that's sustainable for you. Consider this. How you begin the year sets the tone for what follows. The pace you set now, the pressure you accept now, and the expectations you place on yourself right now need to carry forward. I suspect this is one of the reasons so many big resolutions fall apart so quickly. They weren't sustainable. Setting the right pace for change and growth has a huge impact on success. Many years ago, when I was reading parenting books, I came across a phrase that stuck with me. It came from a coach known as the baby whisperer, and the phrase was, "Start as you mean to go on." It was in the context of routines and habits you set as a parent, and whether you could realistically manage them, not just for a week or two, but indefinitely as your child grows. But I quickly realized that advice applies to so many areas of life. If we start a project, begin a new habit, try something new, we have to think beyond the initial excitement. We need to consider how we'll manage days and weeks and months into it, not just the beginning in that honeymoon phase of it where the willpower and the motivation are at the highest levels. When we don't consider this, we often set ourselves up to abandon the very things that genuinely matter to us. Now let's apply this idea to the New Year rush, right? When we begin it so rushed and overwhelmed and disconnected from ourselves and our own situation, that becomes the baseline we're trying to work with. And when that's our baseline, even well-intentioned plans can quickly start to feel way too difficult to maintain. And that's often when we give up, not because we don't care, not because we're not trying so hard, but because the way we started made it too hard to continue. That's why starting the year with a pace and a sense of purpose that you can actually live with isn't optional, it's essential. When I talk about starting slowly, I don't mean avoiding action or procrastinating or drifting without intention. In episode 291, I talked about how slowing down can actually make you more productive. And the same principles of pausing and thoughtful planning apply here. In this case, starting slowly means creating space before you decide what comes next. It means not letting the sudden rush of the new year and everyone else who's going at breakneck speed into it, or the specific dates on the calendar and that arbitrary nature of them. It's not letting those dictate how quickly you make decisions or how fast you're expected to implement them. Starting slowly for you might look like sitting down after the new year begins, like we're doing right now, to reflect on the past year and what you want for the future. It might look like resisting the urge to plan the entire year in January and getting it all done. It might look like easing back into routines instead of forcing them, ramping up into them, instead of trying to jump right into the fray again without a chance to prepare. It might look like intentionally leaving blank space on your calendar. As scary as that might be, that potential space is so important for so many things. This approach is about choosing observation and consideration over immediate optimization. So, to put it another way, it's an invitation to take the time to review and choose instead of rushing to just get started. Taking action is important, but taking the right action is what will make all the difference. Before you decide what to add, remove, change, or commit to in the year ahead, it helps to understand a few foundational things about yourself, how you actually use energy, what tends to drain you versus supporting you, where your time goes, not in theory, but like in real life, whether that's working for you or not, and what truly matters to you right now in a realistic way. In order to go where you want to go, you need to know where you're starting from and what you have to work with. That's why self-assessment is essential. Without this kind of awareness, it's so easy to make plans that seem reasonable. They look good on paper, but then they feel far more challenging and maybe even frustrating once you try to apply them to your actual life. And unfortunately, when that happens, people often assume they've failed. In reality, the plan simply wasn't designed with enough information. Self-awareness is what gives you that information. Once you've slowed down and begun reconnecting with yourself and you have that self-awareness, intention can come into the picture without adding more pressure. And that's something we've talked about here. It's not about locking yourself into outcomes or making promises you have to maintain all year. Intention in this context is more like a filter. We just talked about those in episode 293 on filters for decision making. And I would say this is probably most like the word of the year filter. And it might sound like, this year, I want to protect my energy. This year, I want my days to feel less rushed. This year, I want systems that support my health. These kinds of intentions help guide your decisions without demanding perfection of you. And they allow you to check in and ask, does this approach or this direction I'm going support how I want to live this year? And it's a great way to ease into your planning. It's so different from asking, am I sticking to a plan? And if you like this kind of approach and you want to learn more about it, check out episode 239 on choosing a word of the year. And yes, you get to choose one even after the new year has started. So planning absolutely has a place. The key here is that it works better when it's not the very first step. You're not jumping into it. When planning comes after slowing down and building self-awareness and setting those intentions, it becomes supportive instead of stressful. Instead of trying to figure out how to force follow-through, you can focus on what kind of structure would actually help you and what's realistic for this season of your life. Or maybe a season that's going to come during this upcoming year. Planning becomes this careful process of choosing, not a rush to fill time or meet these arbitrary expectations. The result is systems that will work for you instead of against you. And yes, I have said that so many times, and I will say it so many more times. The more careful we are and the more that we choose based on who we are, what we want, and most importantly, what we need, it will be so much better. If this conversation is resonating, if you're craving a calmer, more intentional way to begin the year, then I encourage you to take a breath, turn off the social media posts that insist that you need to take action immediately, and stick around here because I will encourage you to take your time and do it the best way for you. My first podcast episode, 295 episodes ago, was all about how self-awareness is your number one productivity tool. I still stand by that, and I have a free resource to assist you in building that self-awareness. My productivity toolkit is a collection of workbooks designed to help you learn how you work, understand your energy and capacity, clarify what truly matters to you, and make thoughtful choices about what to do and when to do it. Over the next several episodes, I'll be walking you through each workbook one by one so you can explore these ideas a bit more deeply and apply them in a way that feels supportive, not overwhelming. I encourage you to start the process now by requesting the toolkit for free at positivelyproductive.com/PLPkit, PLPKIT. This way you can start to look it over and then we can go through it together. I look forward to starting the year slowly with you, or at least starting it carefully. Let's review, reflect, and choose what makes sense for you before the year fills up around you and suddenly it's controlling you and not the other way around. Let's start the year with less stress by beginning it in a way you can actually sustain. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. I hope this episode inspired you, and I encourage you to think about one action you can take based on today's topic. Then share it with me so I can cheer you on. Go to positivelyproductive.com to connect with me, read blog posts, and access links from each episode and download resources.